Hey guys, welcome to the show. Today we have Jeanine Alexander back from her trip from Kauai. She is a tantric teacher. She teaches all sorts of modalities. So she gives the healing in many different central points. She deals with relationships. She heals trauma. She makes people have more love for themselves. She teaches people how to breathe and how to feel. And without further ado, Jeanine, how we doing?
Very well. Aloha.
Aloha. That's the word of the day. I love it. Um, where are you right now?
I'm at home.
Beautiful. I love it. And seems like you got a nice swinging chair there. It looks very relaxing and serene. And you seem very zen. I love it. Nice. So, what sort of got you on this path of healing into tantric work? How did you come from New York and then end up being this very enlightened, healing types of personalities that are coming through you?
Wow, that's an amazingly long story and definitely going to be the basis of my book. But yeah, well, I moved to Seattle in the late 80s and was married, had children, and went through a major existential crisis. Where basically my family thought I was going crazy. I fell down on my butt, and something happened with my root bone, and energy started shooting up my spine, and I started seeing and knowing things, and not really knowing how to directly express what was going on for me because I had no, knowledge about what was happening. So I think this was impetus of my awakening. The shock of the thud to my root, shooting energy at my spine, started becoming aware of just the existential realities that we live in. The news, the programming, the money, just becoming aware that this really wasn't what life was about, and this isn't really what life is either. And I knew something wasn't right, but I didn't know what it was, and I knew I didn't feel right, and actually I knew, I didn't know that I wasn't feeling, and that these were the first impetuses of movement happening in me. And I ended up going a little bonkers over it. It was way too much to handle. I didn't have the support system around me, or people who were grokking that reality at that point in my experience. I was 25 years old. I mean, basically, from looking outside, everything in my life was perfect, but from inside, something just wasn't right for me. And as I became more aware and more aware, it became less and less right for me. So, I ended up moving to Hawaii, and I met this wonderful master who I didn't know was a master. When he met me, he looked me in the eyes. He goes, "You're my teacher of Tantra." Well, I had never even heard of Tantra before. And I knew inherently what it was. Like him telling me that triggered this memory in me that, oh yeah, I am a teacher of Tantra. You know what I mean? Like, he incited me, but he ended up being very much my teachers. And masters will do that to you. They'll trick you into thinking you're their teacher, and they will, and then they go away, and then you're like, oh my God, that was my teacher. So this person, his name's Willow. He's amazing, but we would just breathe together. He would come to my house, and we would just, maybe sit down or lay down, or I would sit on him, and we would just breathe. And I would breathe, and he would follow my breath. So if I breathe a little bit, he'd breathe a little bit. And if I breathe a little bit, he would breathe a little bit. And to the place where we got so expansive in the breath that I became the breath itself.
Nice.
And so, little by little, it would expand and contract and expand. So we practiced this way for gosh, probably a year. And I learned how to breathe again, and my life came back to me. And that was the impetus of the movement. It's like Tantra, breathing, body work. So, I went through a lot of healing and receiving a lot of, I worked with a yogic therapist for 2 years straight, once a week, getting deep into my body, feeling through those holding patterns of trauma. And, I'd already developed the breath. So then I went from developing the breath to, moving next door to this yogic master who had, studied and who was a monk in like Sri Lanka for Sri Lanka, excuse me, for, 7 years. I mean, the guy was a master, and started getting to yogic body work from him. So over the course of 2 years, visiting him once a week, my next door neighbor, it was all very nice. But, then of course, moving to Maui, I encountered a lot of Osho sannyasins.
Okay.
For
those people who don't know Osho,
thanks.
How can you describe him?
Osho was a philosopher. He was a Indian philosopher. He was a professor at Indian University, and he was very out there, really just out there. He had studied all the philosophies, all the religions, and he had an opinion on everything. And he was absolutely a living master. And he developed quite a following in his university years, and that following just started expanding and expanding. He ended up with 500,000 sannyasins. Sannyasin is a spiritual seeker, someone who's seeking spiritual knowledge. So he ended up with about 5,000 sannyasins, and he came to America. He was the his name is Shri Rajneesh. His name is Rajneesh, and he was they had a big to do in Oregon in the late 80s, where they were setting up a commune and an ashram, and he had a lot of very, very affluential financial supporters, and it just got blown out. I mean, the people who were, the Oregon, Americans, they, were like, who are these people? They're freaks. They bought a whole town in the state of Oregon. They were setting up a whole commune, and, it was a whole bunch of free loving, and, so they ended up blowing them out and giving him a bunch of bad publicity, and arresting Osho and deporting him. And, it became very, diluted what his message was.
Well,
and his message was about the
renowned, right?
The what?
His meditation's renowned, correct? And also his work, his books are phenomenal.
Yeah, his books are all living discourses, which is what I find absolutely incredible about him, is that all of his books are transcribed. They're direct discourse from his mouth to words. So he never wrote any books. He had discourses with sannyasins, and they were recorded and transcribed. So every one of his books is actually a talk, and it's him just free flowing, being himself in the moment and speaking from his heart.
Clear.
So
it's so clear.
Absolutely.
Like, it's like the most well-explained book I've ever read. Most of them. Like
which one?
The Courage one, and the one that talks about ego. And he just has a series of books. And I tried his meditation. And for the people who are active and they're into athletics and boxing and kickboxing, if you do his meditation, you have to completely wear yourself down so that you have no more energy in your mind, anywhere in your body. So you actually go into a meditation the whole time, and it's more dancing, it's more fluid, and it's in stages. You have to wear yourself out and then get to a calm, relaxed breathing flow, and then you get down to the deeper meditation where you start going clear and you start getting insight, you start getting good visions, and it's really powerful.
Yeah, Osho's active meditation, which is actually so perfect for people who don't, meditation is not just about sitting and being still. That's part of meditation. But, Osho's active meditation actually encompasses all the parts of movement, and it gets you gyrating and moving and then jumping up and down. And it's just all these ways of, you know, Osho was very much about the life force energy. And so, you know, this is one thing I really loved about him, is that he really took energy to a different level for most people, because most people, you know, were in their lower base energies of solidness and density. And he really got people up, vibrating up into more subtle realms. So, and that's the idea of meditation, is to explore the subtle.
Jeanine, it's amazing that you said that, because I was just at the National Museum of History and Arts at the Indian, Chinese, Asia exhibit, and there was it was almost like a monument that would have been in a Times Square somewhere, and it has 6 levels of your destiny or your soul's transcendence, or levels of life. And it shows, like, at the bottom, like serpents stabbing you, and it showed all sorts of anger and frustration and people crying, and then it goes up to like just coming and breaking through, and it starts to go into nature, it starts to go into community at the higher level, and it starts going into transcendence and mastery and bravery and victory, and it starts going higher. So it shows it through the carving on a Buddhist statue, which is phenomenal. And what you're talking about kind of embodies that, made me think of that.
Right. Yeah. Well, we do, like, you know, I think that I know exactly the carving you're speaking of. And I think it has to do, I think it might be Maha Tantra, which is Buddhist, Tibetan Tantra, but it's the different levels of samsara.
Yes.
You know, even mastery is a samsara. You know, you're still in the realm. You know what I mean? You haven't actually transcended it yet. So
samsara being the cyclical existence, correct?
Our cyclical existence, exactly. And we have these going on in our lifetime. Mm-hmm. I can't believe how many lives I've lived in this life. It's incredible to me.
It is.
You know, like, it's going through my own hells and my own persecutions and you know, my own enlivenings and the quickenings and all of these things on the ascension path, and that's, you know, I think one thing that we don't really understand is that we do have to come into the root. We have to go down into those deep, dark places that we all try to avoid. Mm-hmm. And we have to look there and be with it. And we don't have to experience it again. That's the difference. Okay? We've experienced that. Okay? Right. We don't have to experience it. We have to be able to look at it as a loving witness and bring light to it. Because it's the denial that keeps us out of our ground, actually, and that is our ground, and that ground doesn't have to be hell, you know. And I think that's why a lot of people are so afraid to touch down and really be embodied, because there's miasms, karmic miasmic imprints there that have to be looked at, and they have to be observed, and they have to be loved back into light. You know, and denying them and saying, that's ugly, I don't want to look at that. That's not going to love it back into light. Right. You know, that's actually continuing to separate it from you. And separation is definitely not the name of the game anymore.
No. I want to expand what you're saying, like going through the struggle or going through depression. Or I just talked to a friend who's afraid to do a lot of things because he has anxiety now. Once he's gotten to be awakened, he can't deal with lower vibration and negativity and all that stuff. So what I'm trying to coach him through is you're just taking small little micro fraction of actions and steps and bravery modalities and laughter and just doing one or two things that'll get us there, so that we can have that sense of bravery and slay the dragon within. Like The Art of War, the book was all about your creative battle. And The Artist's Way is all about rediscovering your imagination, rediscovering your innocence, rediscovering your ability to fail and being foolish. And Einstein talks about him trying new inventions so that he could get a new reality and start to fail sooner because he's trying new things. And having that ability to get into mastery, but also to that ability to be humble, to get back up. And it's in that getting back up stage where you really come through and get into ecstasy. It's kind of you're not paying attention to the inner scarcity, or you sort of unplugged from the herding of the sheep, and you're sort of hurting yourself. And it's like knowing thyself is like one of the interesting concepts. How can someone know themselves a little bit more based on the Tantric's teachings?
Well, first of all, I want to touch on a couple of points that you said. First of all, Tantra is really about going beyond the judgment of positive and negative. Right. You know what I mean? Beyond the judgment of what's right and wrong. The whole purpose of Tantra is to go beyond that limited mind that holds us to negativity as something that doesn't serve us, or negativity or something that's bad because I don't relate to it as good for me. It's bad. I don't, that's relativity. That has nothing to do with life, because life is as it is. And so as we really start to understand ourselves and getting to know ourselves, okay, we actually, there's no part of you that's not negative. You know what I mean? You're negative, Ryan. I'm negative. There's negativity, yeah, of course, you know what I mean, in the world. You know what I mean? There's no that's a part of us. That's not our whole being.
Right.
And Tantra wants us to really understand what the whole being is, and to be allowing of our wholeness and beingness. So, I mean, that's a really, it's like I said about where a lot of people want to ascend, but nobody really wants to go down to the deep, dark spaces, that deep place of rootedness, where everything is still and it all is really just as it is. There's no need to judge it or define it or try to make it anything other than as it is. And that's the place where in Tantra we become allowing. We actually become allowing of things being just as they are. And I don't have to say, oh, that's negative, I need to get away from that. No, that's how it is. And that's okay too. So here's where we stop. I think this Osho was very monumental, frankly, in getting people to stop judging sex and stop looking at sex as sexuality, which sexuality is of the mind. It has nothing to do with the body. Everything is sex. Everything is sexual. The creation is making love to itself at all times. That's how we are. Yeah, and everything is energy. Einstein it says this, everything is energy. Okay. Sex energy is no different than running energy. It's all energy. And the more we're able to sit and be present with our own energy without judging it, without defining it, but being with that, then those little descriptions or labels, they fade. They fade away, because that's not really what is. Right. Osho was really about being of no mind. And it doesn't mean that you don't think, and it doesn't mean that you don't reason. It means that you can be there, and you don't have to project anything on it. You don't have to say what it is. You don't have to judge it. That's what it is. And that and Tantra really teaches us about allowance for everything, without judgment, with no mind, just letting it be as it is. And that, I believe, for my own truth, that's the real impetus for moving into higher dimensions and octaves.
Right. And I feel like there's an arenda with everyone, which is a mystical force that empowers us to change the world and others. And also, I feel like we are a big onion when we start out in life and we get educated and we go through our life, and we have these stages of sort of, jumping from different habits and different sports and different knowledges and different rituals. And we sort of sometimes get afraid to peel that onion, to go beyond. And we start to expand our consciousness, whether we know it or not, when we get rid of the tooth fairy, when we stop believing in Santa Claus, when we have our first sexual encounter, when we have our first long relationship, we feel love for the first time. And then we are afraid to take our onion sleeves away, because it can get dangerous, and we're vulnerable, and we take shots with arrows, and we get brokenhearted. We get all sorts of life, let's just say, fallouts, and we go through different careers. So it's one of these areas in life where when we start awakening, when we start getting our subconscious, we start figuring out who we are, what we love, what we're really skilled at, that becomes our power. And then we can start. It's okay.
I live on a farm.
Yeah. But like, as I'm saying, so, oh, I love it. Good view. What I'm basically saying is, when you come into your own power and your own personal journey, we don't have to use spiritual words. We just are getting more powerful. We are getting more experience. We're getting more thorough. We're taking on different lessons, and it's not like the big accomplishments, because happiness is fleeting and contentment is fleeting. And a lot of times I see people, they're very sick and they're going through the samsara, which is cyclical existence, and they're expecting different results based on the same action steps. But then they don't know, they don't have the teacher, they don't have the Yoda, they don't have the abilities. But I believe once you start going to like tantric connections areas where you're really connecting in a heart-oriented place, you're breathing into energy, you're understanding energy, you're understanding that you are just in a meat body, and that beyond your meat body, you have a soul that emits metaphysical energy, and there's all sorts of magnetic energy. There's all sorts of expansion. There's all sorts of things that we let into our lives through social media, through news, through areas that we live in that stick, and it's glue that's stuck with us. And we have to go through clearing exercises, and we have to go through kundalini exercises and yoga and hot baths and cold showers, just so we can clean the neurons and clean the inside of our body, so that we can be, because we're a big antenna at our crown chakra and our pineal glands. We actually, the way we feel, people will feel through our communication. And like a lot of expert communicators talk about our body language, but it goes deeper than that. It's not just the body language, it's the emission of your vibration based on your heartbeat, based on your heart rhythms, based on your personality, based how you're feeling, based how you're enthusiastic, based how you're superhero thriving in life, based on what you've done that's been courageous lately. You have a vibration of confidence, and confidence is one of those abilities where you're in your mode, you're in your spot, you're in your country, you're in your element, you're in your mastery. So this is one of those things that we just have to continue to experiment until we get the correct energy and alignment, and trying to be in alignment and being in that vortex. One of my favorite instructors is Abraham Hicks. She likes to talk about, resonating and getting to that vortex. But, our mind's fleeting. It's hard to stay in that vortex at some times. But the more we practice, everything's a muscle. Personality is a muscle. Concentration, focus is a muscle. Tantric exercise is a muscle. There's all sorts of muscles beyond just our physical muscles. So can you expand on that a little bit? I know it's a lot of things we're going and taking in different directions, but you kind of
get your analogy of the peeling onion, because that really is what's happening for us as we move through, as we descend actually through octaves. We are literally peeling layers. And and another point that you made was rediscovery. It's not something you become, it's more something you discover in yourself. And as these discoveries happen, your consciousness expands. So the layers peel down, so you get down to the base core essence of who you are. And then as you get that core essence, that's what I call rooted. That's what I call being rooted in existence. I am down to the basest, most primal essence of my existence. And from there, then I can expand back through I peeled the layers, and now I can expand and emit through the octaves. So here's the thing. I love Abraham Hicks. For the place where I'm at in my world, it's really great. For where a lot of people are at, it's not great, because those people still need to get to that level of acceptance. You know what I mean? And I can't just think away the trauma. You know what I mean? Because that happened. And we have cellular imprints. Okay. So we get cellularly imprinted. We also have a divine imprint, you know what I mean? Which is the divine imprint from your source, how you were made, your soul's imprint of what you agreed to come here and do. And, you know, up in the love and light realms where it's all unconditional love, we all come in, we're like, yeah, full on, I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
You know, and then you get down in the lower, baser, denser realms and you're like, oh shit, what did I sign up for here? So, you know, I think for, you know, like I said, for the work that I'm doing with people is I'm using breath and body connection as well as vibration to get down into that cellular memory,
right,
and move it without the story, without the attachment to what happened.
Yeah.
Because that's not really present. What's present is right now I'm feeling some energy stuck in my left shoulder. That's what's present. So we don't, that could have been, I fell down, I had a fight with my wife, you know, I hit the wall. What is your story, you know, for why you hold cellular patterns in your body? We all have them. You fell down as a child. I've worked with people, you know, and they come up and they remember, oh yeah, I fell down on my bike as a child. You know, that's deep.
Yeah,
you know, something sticks and it stays with you until, that's my little friend. Something stays with you until you're actually able to feel through that pattern, you know. So why I'm such a proponent of deep feeling is because we can't really heal ourselves without feeling through it. I'm not talking about thinking through it. I'm not talking about playing those same old tapes.
I know what you're saying.
Know, there's some physical you know, problems I've had in my body where I couldn't even remember what happened. I just knew there was pain there.
Right, and that trauma can be unraveling towards later cancer, shoulder injuries, all sorts of breakages in muscle imbalances. I've seen this a lot through my NPT therapy. Now, how does someone that had trauma? This is huge because we've all had it. Now, how do we erase it? Like Men in Black, just do that bright light and just erases your memory. And how do we break through it? And then maybe think of it as a blessing in some way to reverse our subconscious mind and play a little and kind of reconnect that wanting to live, that higher spirit, that like thriving attitude that we once had, but we sort of shut it down because of this trauma. What's your experience with that?
Well, my experience with that personally is, you know, not really learning. See, when we come into bodies, think about when you're a child, when you come into a body, who teaches you how to be in your body, Ryan? Who says, hey, here's a great way to stand? Oh, you know, when you stand up, if you just pulled in your center, if you pulled in here a little bit, your whole spine would lift, right? Who teaches us that? We don't learn how to be in a body. No, there's nothing for children. Physical education in schools, that's bullshit. That doesn't teach us how to be in our bodies, how to feel what feels right to us. And so we end up creating trauma. And I hate to say it, you know, it's a really hard pill to swallow for most people, that most people do create their own traumas, you know, just by their judgments of their experience.
You can see it through their body language and their heads down, and you can see it through their hips if they've had some sort of sexual trauma, which a lot of people have it on both male and female genders. And you can see it sort of with having, let's just say they've gotten jumped and they've broken their nose, or they had some sort of alcoholic abuse. There's this like hanging, like just you could see it when you people walk in the store. You can just see the baggage they're carrying and the weight they're carrying. And it's like an energy is pushing them down. I went through a conference one time and a guy said, manipulate my body. He went limp and said, manipulate my body. And he just got through with a breakup and a relationship and a divorce. And he's like, manipulate my body, how you feel. And the guy was standing up and he sort of manipulated his shoulders, his neck. And he brought his, hunch there. He brought the neck feeling sideways, and he kind of like touched him and brought him in this like Gumby position, and the guy was on stage, and he's like, I can feel how you feel now, because of the body and because of the positioning, and now he was just like, I understand that. Now let's work through it, and let's try to keep our head up, straighten our arms, straighten our body. Let's start breathing again. Let's start think about how we can move forward, and think about the blessing that, yes, we broke up from the relationship. We had many years, and show so much gratitude for those years that we did have, and those experiences. And now let's shift into that to create a new element, because what we are creating now becomes a pod to step on and another pod to step. Otherwise, the bridge collapses and we have nowhere to step, and we sort of just live in misery, and we get these self-destruction thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Well, my response to that is I find it very interesting. But when we experience trauma and we don't have the facilitators to hold space for us to move it out immediately, this, in the moment, this is what happened, this is what I'm feeling, this is how it moves. Okay, so what happens is that trauma gets stored in the body, and it becomes density. Okay, and the density actually will, because we're magnetic as well as electric. So you talk about emitting frequency. We're also just as magnetic. So it means whatever we emit, we draw in. Now this is, you can go around and you're emitting and emitting and emitting, and being really aware of what you're emitting is really good, because it makes you also aware of what you'll be drawing in. But what happens is sometimes we experience trauma, especially with sexual trauma, frankly. We experience a trauma and we don't get to process it. Nobody, we're not heard, we're not seen about it. We stuff it down into a, unconscious place, because we don't want to look at it. And then it becomes shadow. So that's there, and it's always going to be, and that's what's weighing people down, and that's that heaviness you see on people. It's their shadow. It's all that place that I didn't want to look at. I didn't want to, it's because, think about it. When you're standing in the sun and you have a shadow, as soon as you turn to shadow, the shadow recedes. It moves. You know what I mean? So you looking at shadow, it's like bringing a candlelight into a dark room. The room is shadowed. As soon as the light comes in, it could be the tiniest little candle. The whole room illuminates, though. So, this is what happens when people are traumatized. They are never able to look at that trauma. And so what it becomes is a density within them, and it becomes their own shadow. And then what happens is they start actually attracting more of that, because that's what they're emitting. So you were talking earlier about emitting frequency. Well, we have people who are, in trauma, or still holding trauma in the body. And because that trauma has not been dealt with and healed, you're emitting that frequency that actually keeps magnetizing the same situations back to you. This is how people get stuck in those samsaric realms where, oh, why is this happening to me? Why is this happening? This keeps happening to me. It's, because you're magnetizing it. And that's it's a bitter pill for most of us to swallow, that we are electromagnetic beings, that we emit as well as attract. So, whatever I'm putting out is definitely coming back at me. And it's not so much of a karma thing as an energetic thing.
Right, because karma is like a buzzword now. It's being overused. It's not necessarily the real definition of karma, but it's like how you're emitting, and not just what you're thinking on the outside. It's like, what patterns are you living by? What actions are you taking based on your value, your living, your friends, the space you're living in, your personal journey, maybe your dharma based on your life path. And if you're not waking up charged in the morning, we need to make a little bit of adjustments. We need to try to see what's going on, tweak it a little bit, be your own engineer. But we don't learn these skills, so it's not your fault. So we should then go places, learn online, maybe tap out of the mainstream knowledge and try to learn from the sacred schools, the ancient religions, the yogis, the martial artists, maybe the Shaolin entities, maybe the coaches, the mentors, the books. You have thousands of books. I went to the store the other day and I got these 5 books for $15. That is a return of an investment. This book right here about the charged life, it was a free book, and that has exponential value right there. And we're just afraid to read. We don't have any time. Can't sit still. Take back your mind. Start reading. Simple. Then practice what you've learned. So.
Right. Well, a very wise master said to me once, and this is how I was asking him about karma, and he said, "Let me put it to you this way." He said, "Cause is effect concealed, and effect is cause revealed." It's really potent if you can really wrap your mind around it, because karma is cause and effect, right? So cause is effect concealed, and effect is cause revealed.
Oh.
So all of your karma is your cause. And see, you're either living in your cause, you're being the cause, and you know that you're causing,
Totally.
or you're saying, this is happening to me, this is happening to me. You're living in effect. But either way, your cause is the effect concealed.
Totally.
And effect is cause revealed. So either way, it's on you.
It really is on you.
Took me off the wheel. Instantaneously took me off the wheel of karma, because I was like, oh my God, I'm causing all of this. I'm causing everything. Well, that's simple.
That's hard for people to understand. Really hard.
Just about what I'm causing.
Now, based on, we all can be jerks. Every now and then we can be an asshole. We can just, do certain things that aren't on our really, not our true self. We got lower selves. We maybe, blast off someone and argue, and you're in traffic, you're flicking people off, you're blah, blah, blah. You start laughing at these silly jokes that you shouldn't laugh upon. You're judging someone in a wheelchair, whatever your life's like. But I feel like there is an ability to take back all those, things that we're judging, and just understand that we're on a wheel in our mind, and we can literally learn how to switch on and switch off and take back our mind by breathing, by just being. And a guy named Mark Divine, Commander Mark Divine, who has done the Navy SEAL work, and he's he's a shogun, he's a samurai. He studies from the ancients, and therefore he comes to peace. He comes to terms with his message. He comes to terms with violence. He comes to terms with his own body. He comes to terms with his old ego, where he was a bully and he was a show off and things of that nature. But one of the main things he says is, get back to your box breathing, get back to visualization. And even our best athletes, a lot of people go, that's horseshit, no visualization, I just go through, it's all random, life's a bitch, blah, blah, blah. But he literally goes through his day, 5 minutes. He understands what he's going to be going through. He sort of walks himself through it, keeps his eyes closed, and he's doing box breathing, which is in 1, 2, 3, 4, and out 1, 2, 3, 4. And he does about 5 or 6 breaths like this. He does the Wim Hof technique, which is deeper. And there's different types of breathing for life. But what he's come to realize, that when he's in a firefight, when he's in a difficult business meeting, when he's in a fearful moment, he comes back to his breath. He comes back to the floor. He doesn't project to the future or the past. And he wrangles his mind like a herder, like a cowboy. And he's, and for those macho guys out there who, I'm so tough, I can bear through it all, and I don't have any emotions, I'm just a tough guy, blah, blah, blah. I don't admit when things are going on. Okay, that's where your back problem's coming from. That's where your angers come from. That's where your ego's coming from. That's how you're destroying relationships. And again, coming back to terms with things, understanding, I may need to apologize. I need to be energetic in a conversation, start taking interest in other people's lives to facilitate an interaction back, so they sort of engage with you better. So there's all these little techniques, but again, it's like the practice. It's being able to clear your mind enough to have these skills come back in the right time in life. Because when you're right in the middle of an interaction, sometimes it just goes poof and it's gone, and you become the worst version of yourself. So there's a lot of things like that we can go back to, and kind of sliding into a new topic in that sense. How do we control our animal desires? Because I saw a lot of tantric teachings and learned about some of them, but our animal desires, once we've tasted the animalistic desires of life. How do we turn that off or tweak it or control it?
I love that question, and I'll tell you why. Because what's wrong with animals? First of all, we have this like weird thing as human beings where like animals are lower than us, but I think it's a little bit nervy for us to feel that way about animals or animalistic behaviors. Animals are most natural and they're most primal, and that's beautiful. I think for me, especially being a tantric, anything that's natural is beautiful, whatever it is. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And who says those desires are wrong? And I think moving through tantrically through my lower base energies to my higher, more subtle energies, it's an all-encompassing allowance.
Mm-hmm.
It's really about an all-encompassing. Osho used to say to his sannyasins, if you're going to be in your second chakra, be there totally. You know what I mean? If you're going to be having, mad, passionate, animalistic sex, do it totally. That's totality is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the most beautiful things. I actually find that to be one of my most redeeming qualities, is that I am total in every single moment with whatever's coming through me. And that's what I love most about myself, is my totality, which means I love myself totally. You know what I mean? So I really, I get offended because I love animals so much. I have lots of animals on my farm. Here's my big, that's my hairy boyfriend right there.
Love him. Good guy.
I love him. And I will get down on the floor and totally get primal with him. And it's awesome because that's where we go out of our minds. Animals they don't think. They don't project on each other. They don't, you know what I mean? The humans do that. I think that's gross. I mean,
they love they love loyalty.
They love, you know what I mean? They care for their young. They are, they take care of their herd. I mean, what's the matter? This is my first question. What is the matter with animals? Animals are awesome. They're perfectly natural. And really, reaching down into our primal nature. When I had my primal scream, it was the most of my life. It's like, it was the most, I was an animal by every sense of a human's description. I was behaving completely out of control. Like, so let's not put down the animals. They're pretty awesome. So here's my point. There, we have an above and below. Okay. And there's this old adage, as above, so below. Okay. So we as human beings, we pull energy down from source. The energy's coming down. Okay. For women, it's coming down naturally. Okay. For I really want to, really impart to people that our primal nature is beautiful, and our animal nature is our most natural primal selves. And the difference between desire and sexuality is vast. It's vast. Desire is something that is an impetus for us. It creates movement. It's beautiful. Sexuality is laden with, ideas about how we're going to objectify each other. That's gross.
Guilt, shame.
That's gross to the animals. Objectifying someone, getting off on someone, for the sake of getting off. That's gross. And I mean gross, like, I'm not in judgment of it, because if you want to do that, that's great, have at it. But gross in the sense of our basest lower nature. Nothing wrong with it. We've been moving in that nature for some time. And that's why we, you see, in our society, violence is glorified. Why, you have to hide behind doors to have sex. That's lame. That's just totally unnatural. Sex is the most natural thing that we do. It's beautiful. It's, sex without love can be very damaging. It can be very damaging. And when you don't, if you're not integrating heart space into your sexuality, then, you're being worse than an animal, because the animals are living hearts.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. There's no separation from an animal from their own heart. Not with humans. Humans can separate their heart, and they can bend a man can bend a woman over and just, fuck her for, 5 minutes and get off and feel perfectly okay with himself.
let me expand on that, because there's so many things there that I want to tap into, and and there's a lot of people that are very high yonis oriented, and they're charged. Maybe they're alpha, maybe they're higher testosterone, maybe they've had more experiences, maybe they're capable of having more partners, maybe they're non-monogamous thinking, maybe they're totally monogamous thinking, but then they don't merge with the right partner, or maybe they go to a festival, they learn tantra, they go to cuddle workshops, they go to sacred massages, they learn that there's so many different pleasures. They're seekers of more lust and more ecstasy and more expansion. But then they meet up with others in mainstream society who haven't gone to these workshops. They sort of lay there like starfish when they're trying to make love. There's not a gratifying sexual encounter with a lot of people, just because there's this stigma, there's this guilt, there's this Catholic shame, there's this Puritan mentality, maybe there's this I will go to if I'm not married, this and that. But then there's the other extreme where there's no sacredness to the act, and there's just giving it away for free, and then you get all sorts of energetic projections at you. You get the trauma, you get the sticky glue essence, and you need to peel that onion layer and re-heal yourself. And for guys, I'll speak for, like, you know, somebody in their prime, and they're meeting people in California, maybe they're in Hollywood, maybe they're a club promoter, and they're very lucky. But what they don't know is they're doing a lot of voodoo work. And say again?
They're causing.
Yeah, they're sort of causing, but they're also they're feeling good. They're feeling confidence. They're feeling like the man. They're feeling the woman, whatever. They're feeling like a playboy. They're feeling a lot of that. And it gets glorified. But then, you know, I'm seeing this trend where on the opposite spectrum, you got the girls on Instagram. You got the little girls that are following suit in their young teens with sexting and doing all that nonsense, which is fine to project it in a way, but you're not holding value for that. It's a sacred practice. And I say that because I read a lot of the scriptures from the Kabbalah and a lot of the scriptures from the ancient Christianity and the Quran and all that stuff. So there is an element of, should we protect this a bit better and maybe go back to a little bit more purity and a little bit more just not offering it up, because I'm feeling like everyone's been offering it up, but then there's nothing we want anymore after that. So it's a delicate balance.
Right. Well, you know, Ryan, honestly, in honest truth, I've been on both spectrums of that. I've been in the most debased, you know, debauched ways of sharing myself, and I've also been in some very, you know, healing and loving experiences. So, you know, I think the porn industry, frankly, has really gotten a lot of people into the, you know, the objectification of the body, you know, that the body's separate from who you are, and it's not. You are it. This is what we're human. Mm-hmm. We're in bodies. Here's where we're at. You know what I mean? And body is just as sacred as heart or as spirit or as the will. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like an integration practice that every one of us, we all each have these 4 parts of ourselves, you know. We have a spirit. I mean, we are of spirit. That's what we are. We come down from spirit. We incarnate. You know, essentially, that's where we return. But here we are as human beings. We're embodied. Bodies is beautiful. It's not something to be objectified. It's not something to be used and abused. It's something to be cherished. And really, when you start to get to this place of absolutely loving life, all you want to do is cherish the body, because you know that body is what's carrying you through life, and you're so grateful to body that you would not cause harm on it anyway. So that's what we become more conscious. But, you know, sex without love and without true heart space is damaging. And I can speak from experience on that. It's quite damaging to the body, because when bodies connect, when we have a male and female connect, the bodies make an agreement. Okay. And there's agreements that are happening between those 2 bodies, whether you're conscious of it or not. The agreements already happened. As soon as those bodies connected and they started sharing essence, there was an agreement. So whether you're conscious of it or not, So people who go around making agreements and then not breaking them or not clearing with that person, or you are building up, like you said, a lot of karmic miasma in your field. It took me years and years and years to clear my body. And, it really it attests to the amazing and miraculous ability of body to heal itself, because I feel I am a clear channel now. But there was a time in my life where I was, free and letting it all loose and whatever, experiencing my sexuality. I don't judge myself, but I do see that I cause damage. That I cause it. I can't blame my lovers. There's no one to blame in that. That was the effect revealed the cause. See, and the cause was having sex without love. And so my body knew it wasn't loving, even though maybe I felt loving. Maybe that person who wasn't projecting love into me because they weren't in their hearts. Whatever, no harm, no foul. But it is a process of having to go back and actually clear the energetic field and clear the meridians and reclaim those parts of ourselves, because when we are making love, we are generating life force essence. Okay. And we can create entities. There are, how many babies are created without consciousness? To those two people, when those two people were making love, did they say, hey, we're open in space for some spirit that wants to come through us? Do they say that? No. Then they have unwanted children.
Right. Well, you
know what I'm saying? The bodies are in agreement, but the rest of the consciousness isn't. So heart's not present, spirit's not present, will is not present, body's there. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So then as integrating, animals don't have these issues. That's why I say, why do people think animals are beneath us? They don't have these issues.
Well, I take the dolphin, for example. The dolphin's very promiscuous. There's a lot of the babono apes, I believe.
Baboons.
Yeah, bobonos, the chimps, and those. I'm not saying the right species, but there's a certain species of monkey that is very promiscuous, and that alpha shares so much. And the lions, they make love a lot. So there's a lot of similarities with human beings and having that lust. But I believe the marketers, the control, the designers of the grid, of the matrix, the ability to get onto YouTube and promote it, and the commercial designers, they have the ability to sell sex. And that can totally form our ways of living. And then same thing with the Catholic religion or the Muslim religion. They have the ability to have multiple wives, and then Catholics are very guilt conscious. So there's a lot of shameful practices. But we need to clear the space and really come down to a tantric level and understand there's so many different ways to connect. Sex is not the only one. It's the highest form in some ways. But just connecting with food, just connecting with massage, just connecting with true giving your whole self, maybe just cracking jokes, being conscious of how you appear, how you smell, how you look, how you are pronunciating words. That's all tantric, right? There's this little micro levels of tantric living and being alive and being able to turn off your phone and give your full attention to somebody and give and like sort of project how your emotions, like how you're feeling. I'm feeling happy. I'm projecting it. I'm feeling loving. I'm projecting it. And having that ability just to go clear and just have that intimacy, go take a walk in nature and combine these tantric habits. Like, I'm going to smell good in nature. I'm going to have food in nature. I'm going to connect with you. I'm not going to have my cell phone on, and I'm going to kiss you with all my passion. There we have like 7 different levels multiplying on a tantric connection, which many people are like, oh, I don't even know what's going on. I just had a good time. It felt good. So there's, the people are bleeping out most of their emotions, how they feel. They're so maybe muted. They're so kind of swayed and they're so drifting mind oriented that they don't have that mastery of themselves. And, having those different practices and modalities really help you find you. And it's a bold recipe towards intro to metaphysics. metaphysics just being the physics of the meta, which is the body, and understanding the operating system that we're running, an operating system that has multi-layers to it, and we have so many versions of ourselves. Having just one course in psychology will help you get to that level. One course in Tantra, going to a festival. When you're in a music venue, that's metaphysics. You can hear the music. It's a vibration with the crowd. It's a pleasurable sense of the instruments. The people on stage are joyful and they're playing because they're passionate. They've been practicing, so they're putting their mastery in front of you. And if you go to like an EDM or a festival like that, you got 1,000 million people, whatever the count is, and it's just multiplying and multiplying and multiplying. And then if you're taking exotic drugs or whatever, you're multiplying that, because then you're opening more chakras at some points. Or you could just go there stone cold sober and just enjoy the hell out of it. And when you can sleep over and have those 3-day festivals or 10-day festivals where you can start learning and going to different workshops and learning Tantra and learning and going to cuddle parties and doing like the Burning Man vibe, then you really will start to experience it. And when we have experiences, we're peeling the onion, like we said. So it's a paradigm shift, and it's you don't have to do it all at one time, but know that there's more to life, right?
Right. Well, I like your analogy, of how we are moving, how we experience. The experience is actually, we could sit there and tell ourselves to this, but until we have the experience of it, it's not really known to us. Mm-hmm. See, before we have the experience of something, it's just a thought. It's just a thought, just like any other thought in the minds. They're just thoughts. They're not really actual. And most of our thoughts have to do with yesterday or tomorrow, which don't exist. Mm-hmm. So until you actually have the experience of something, that one, those, even with I think what Abraham Hicks is doing, they're trying to get you experience like the frequency. Like, mm-hmm. Just come here right now and be in this. Just have that experience of what that feels like. Because once you have that experience, you can actually call back that feeling. But until you've experienced something, it's just a thought.
It's telling you how to dial it in. Like it's a frequency, like opening up your antenna. Like, remember that day when you had so much fun? You were skateboarding, you were surfing, you had friends, you gave out 20 hugs. You had the best food of your life. You made love to your partner. You held hands with a yogi.
That was the frequency of being in alignment with myself.
That's it.
It was a total free. I was in that frequency of I'll do what I want to do. Totally, yay, yeah. And then we go back into something that's a contrast. And I love the way Abraham Hicks talks about contrast, because contrast is important. And contrast is very important. It's important. You would never know the greatest joy of your life if you did not know what sorrow was. If you had no idea of what sorrow or sadness was, you would not be able to experience joy. Mm-hmm. We would be apathetic. So, the contrasting is what brings richness to our life. It actually brings texture and more truth, honestly, for me, because I've experienced like vast contrasts in my world, in my experience of myself. So, but now I'm able to predominantly live in a joyfulness. We all have like I said, we all have our daily raptures of emotion. It's like, it comes and goes, but now it's like, I can maintain a predominantly state of joyful mind because I know that joy so well, because I've really experienced my sorrows.
What are action steps that you kind of, like when you've gone through sorrow, right? What are some action steps that someone can take? Like, people are fighting their battles right now. I mean, the world is on the verge of explosion and a lot of pollution, a lot of stuff. I mean, but there's so many awesome things too. So how can someone maybe do some action steps that will go from sorrow to on the road to joy, on the road to like changing careers, or like they're about to make a move, they're about to press the button, but then they're like halfway to pressing the button, they're like, "Oh, I can't do it." They like sort of get shocked, or like, "Oh my God, everyone's gonna judge me." Like, how does one like pass that suffering stage?
Well, here's the point. Here's the deal. Okay, with suffering, depression, sorrow, that's what is. in that moment. And why I think people maintain states of depression, because when someone is constantly depressed and that's the only emotion they're living in, it's actually because they're avoided. Right. I mean, what you resist persists. Okay, that's the truth. That's the law. It's like,
but why?
You know what I mean? There's no getting around that. Okay, so here's what. Some days I feel depressed. I have low energy. Okay, I'm gonna let that be today. Okay, I'm gonna let it be okay. Why is there anything wrong with that part of my being? There's nothing wrong with it. That's just what I'm feeling right now. Huh?
As long as you're aware that is just that day, it's huge.
Here we go. It's all about awareness. It's all about saying, here's why people end up being on psychotropic medications and antidepressants and such, because what they're trying to do is avoid depression. Rather than just maybe, if you just sat with it maybe for 20 minutes, I promise you it'll move, because it has to move. As soon as you bring awareness to something, it shifts.
Huge.
It moves. You know what I mean? It's the avoiding. This is how shadow body builds. I don't look at that. I don't look at my shadow. I think, oh, I'm just going to be in love and light and everything's going to be great. But there it still is.
Right. Everyone's doing that. Everyone's doing that. They're lighting up the cigarette.
That's why we have so many people on antidepressants, where they really should be taking like maybe 30 grams of psilocybin mushrooms. You know what I mean? If you really want to feel some joyfulness, do that, because that's a lasting joy. Explain
that a little bit further.
I don't do it anymore, but I used to. But okay, do you understand what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is that most people remain, and okay, we're rapture. We are emotional beings. We have different emotions moving through all day, every day. You're mad one moment, then the next thing you're moving into something. Next thing you know, I'm like, oh, that's a little disturbing, or yay, that's happy. So people are moving through emotions constantly. What I said, that person who's constantly depressed, that's their predominant emotion. There's nothing much happening on either end of the spectrum, because that's the emotion they're probably most in denial of.
Right.
Okay. Rather than saying, I'm depressed, maybe why don't you sit down and have a good cry? Why don't you say, be okay with that? Because that's actually the impetus that's going to move you into the next. But when we don't look at it, it becomes our predominant state of mind. Sure. Because it's going to keep wanting to bring our attention to it, because all it wants is light and awareness. That's all any of our emotions want. They want us to look at them, be there for a moment, and say, hey, you know what? You're okay too.
Right.
Crying is beautiful. I cry all the time. Sometimes when I can't cry, I make myself cry because it's so beautiful.
I know what you're saying. And like from a manly perspective, I would say like I need to unlock that combination while I'm feeling that. And I need to take an action step towards crossing that bridge, and then having like a sort of a program to install whenever I'm in that motion. So now it's like, oh, just come back to the now, start breathing it out. Let's go work out. Let's go to a dance class. Let's go to a martial arts class. Let's get past that dreadful dark vein of life, and maybe go towards having a shield, but not like dwelling on it. We dwell and we put energy to it. Whatever we, like you said before, whatever we put energy to something, it persists. But sort of unlocking breathing patterns. I like to clear the space. I like do a little Tai Chi, really just 5 minutes of deep breathing. And I like, you could say something internally, use a little transcendental meditation, and just really get your brain rewired to just go into like a one word. Pick a word. It doesn't matter. You could say energy and just go energy, 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 energy. And then you say it within energy, energy, energy. And then your own mind is blocked out, like you're like Dikembe Mutombo stuffing the basketball out of someone's hand, and you're just like, not today, buddy. You're my friend. But everyone, you put a voice to your mind, put a stop signal, engineer a stop or a barrier that your own mind can just go live in, and maybe cool it off. And if your mind's going crazy, it's probably because you haven't rewarded yourself with enough pleasure. So maybe go take a massage, maybe go in a hot bath, maybe go on a nice walk, go swimming in the ocean, go for a surf, make love, go for a dance, do something. Because if you don't, you're just revving up the hamster wheel in the mind. Really connect and have a good conversation. Having the stamina in life, you know, to withstand your own mind and grab the steering wheel. It sounds so cliche, but you got to take these action steps. You got to regenerate yourself. You got to get back to your powerful sense, and you got to find your true self, your higher self, because we have like 10 different selves. We got the angry version, the emotional version, the motivated, the depressed, anxiety version. We got the confident, funny guy. We got all sorts of makeshift selves. So, you know, let's take some action. And the action is just, it could be so small. And that inner judgment can just be poof, gone. And we can find that creative pleasure of flow again. And flow, for you guys don't know, there's a lot of videos you can check out, Jason Silva online, or you can read the book, The Rise of the Superman. But getting back, like this morning, I'm painting this mastery of painting that took 3 days to do kanji waves and paint like Oriental style, like calligraphy, like Steve Jobs used to do. Just going into that like pleasurable state where there's no thinking. And that's what we need to get back to. And let's stop rushing. And you know, this is a good saying. It's called Sat Nam, and that means Sat Nam means the truth is your name. It's kind of a Kundalini phrase. So be the truth. You know.
Be the truth.
Yeah, totally. And
I think the main premise of what you're saying is actually just releasing judgment, letting go of the judgment of what we're feeling in the moment, and moving through that feeling, and you know, writing it even, because, you know, for me, I've had a lot of ups and downs in my life. Okay, but I used to go way far down, like to the deepest, darkest holes, and you know, and then, but now I'm realizing that's actually, it's kind of like a roller coaster. That's where you gain momentum, is in the valleys. You know, learning to be able to be in those low points and say, hey, it's a valley, it's okay. Actually, this is the impetus that's giving me the momentum to get back up that next hill.
That's next level, Jeanine. That's huge, because that next hill and like being in that suffering, you really have to put a new name to it. This is just a place that the universe is putting me so that I can get stronger, so that if I'm wanting more love in my life, then it's going to give me more responsibilities to serve. You know, it's not exactly what we want, and we don't get exactly what we want, but it gives, you know, the world works in this like mysterious synchronicity world. So we get just enough to what we are, you know, capable of, and then working with that and molding our clay and designing and having wood to build our homes and to build our sanctuaries. And the people that come into our life are like teachers and lesson givers, and we don't need to hold on to all of them, but, you know, there may be a phrase or a sort of new concept or an idea that just spawns and creates this huge tree in our mind that starts expanding its branches and creates these fruitful fruit in our mind that helps us with our energy or power, or just a mentorship that maybe will help us to have a paradigm shift and to pass on, to give us courage to start our business, to give us courage to do a podcast, to give us courage, like an indicator, like a green light of a person. But then noticing that this person may not be great for my life long term, or maybe I shouldn't let them in so close, because people can infiltrate. So, you know, just having that awareness, it's really about getting back to the awareness, knowing yourself, and then upgrading yourself constantly. Because if you're in depression or anxiety, let's just face it, you are probably not taking a lot of action steps. You are creating luck because the way you think constantly, and you're bringing that law of attraction. You're bringing in if let's just say you're at the darkest road, right? Take out $100 and just start giving money away. Just start donating money. Just start journaling and just seeing who you could help. Write down a list, 10 people you could help, and then start with your ideas. How can I help someone? What can I do today? Can I volunteer somewhere? Can I smile at someone? Can I high five 5 people today? Can I spread smiles for miles? Can I go pet a dog? Can I go feed a cat? Can I babysit for my loved ones? Can I whatever? Can you share your gifts? So that's one of those big things. Because what do you know about giving? Because I know you're a super giving person. What is the magic of giving?
You know, I am a really giving person, and my response to everything you were just saying right now is giving to me is the ultimate pleasure. To have something to share with another makes me feel fulfilled. And but here we go on the opposite X spectrum of that is receiving. And so we need to really learn how to receive. And sometimes I remember using giving as a way of pushing people away from me and not being willing to receive them as well. And sometimes when we're unwilling to receive, we're actually negating that person's ability to give. You know what I'm saying? So think about how pleasurable giving is. Like, giving is ultimately self-serving. I get so much pleasure out of giving to others. You understand? So ultimately it's self-serving, right?
Yeah.
So something I've had to learn is how to receive and how to let others give and let them be fulfilled in that way as well. So from what my experience of how abundant I am and always have been and always will be is that freely giving with no attachment to what gets received or what returns to me, because it does all come back around always. I might give to you today, Ryan, but then tomorrow I might receive from somebody else. So it's that freely giving without attachment to the outcome of where it goes, what that person does with my given. Am I going to get something back from that person?
Then you start scrambling to do that, right?
Most people give with the intention of receiving something back, and when they don't receive something back, they get pissed because they gave.
Totally. Especially in the sexual spectrum. Especially in the sexual spectrum. Let's just be real.
Well, especially sexually. Absolutely. But understand, sex is everything. Sex energy is life force energy, and life force energy is moving in us constantly. So like when we practice Tantra, we start to move into higher realms where, maybe, fucking becomes passé. That's like, oh, I can't do that. I'm too aware for that. You know what I mean? That's I know that there's not going to be a clear exchange of energy with that particular person, or I'm not feeling enough heart resonance to feel that there's going to be a balance of giving and receiving in that exchange. So no, I won't do that. Okay. But here's my point. I'm ultimately a giver. Ultimately, it is the greatest joy of my life. You know what I mean? To give and to have to. It's really the having. Giving to be. It's like power. People who really are powerful, they give all their power away. They give it. They make other people powerful. They do everything. These are really, to me, that's what, when I see someone doing that, I go, that is a powerful person. Not a person who projects power, not a person who would be perceived as powerful, but that one who's willing to give all their power away. That to me is true power, because you don't really ever have anything until you're willing to give it away freely.
No, well said.
No expectation of return.
There's so much to that. It's like there is an equation and laws of nature that we have to sort of learn, and we don't get taught this, so it's like not very natural to us to give. We want to be, animalistic sometimes and take. Everything's going to run out, the scarcity mindset. And, for money, it's, it's being taught that, it's very
programmed.
Yeah. It's like you learn different languages of money, learn what money is, and it's actually energy. And it's an ability to pertain to experiences and execute missions and execute serving abilities. And there's like, when we don't have enough, we have to have this like force in our mind, this 100%, 1000% belief that you will begin to serve, you will begin to have enough. You won't have more than enough until you are ready to serve and you have a vehicle to help out. So we must start up business. We must have the ability to sell things. We must have the ability to create workshops and create retreats and have subscribing lists and having some sort of way to tap into the internet and having the ability to tap into, on the other hand, then having the ability to start a fundraising, to start a Kickstarter, to whatever you believe in, whether it be, you didn't have a very great education, or you didn't have the learning of tantric arts as a young youth. You can donate, you can crowdfund, you can send your energy and allow your money to leverage energy for other people. And there's sort of this like verge, this universe just goes and like sucks in that energy and says, we must give to this individual because they are serving, they are rocking, they're jamming like Jimi Hendrix with their love. And you sort of blast into this mode of expansion and abundance, and then like not having that like ticking worrying and tapping into that herd mentality of, I'm never going to have enough. I must get a mortgage. I must pay off my student loans. I have to go work, and be tired. And so you can't serve. So you're just like this robotic machine. So, you know, it's a balance. And I think that, you know, you have to learn to think big. What's your take on thinking big?
Well, you know, first of all, I think abundance has everything to do with your consciousness. It has nothing to do with money, ever. I think abundance is a consciousness. So no matter how much money you have, if you have an abundant consciousness, you're going to be abundant. Okay. Woo. So, you know, my life is not, I'm not a hoarder or an accumulator or a money saver. I don't really have any money per se. But I have an abundant consciousness, and because my consciousness is abundant, my life is very abundant, and I do what I want. I live freely. I live my way. You know, my ultimate prayer for myself is clear exchanges of energy. Okay, I ask every day, may all my exchanges be clear exchanges of energy. So that could be money, that could be goods, that could be just a hug, where two people are actually embracing each other rather than one pulling on each other to get energy. Do you see what I'm saying? Sure. So for me, that's my abundance prayer: clear exchanges of energy, balanced abundance. Mm-hmm. So I keep myself in that frame of mind where I want all my exchanges of energy to be clear exchanges of energy. Okay. So, you know, when I do my work, or there's no discussion of money ever in my work. There is a clear exchange of energy. We gift each other. This is my gift I'm sharing. I really truly believe in a gifting economy, and I think that would be the most equitable distribution of our consciousness and our sharing of our energy with each other would be a gifting economy where everyone is giving freely of themselves what they're best at, you know. And I don't particularly subscribe to the capitalist mindset. I just don't. It's not working.
Right.
You know, it's not working for 50% of us. That it's not working for any of us. You know what I mean? I don't believe in money hoarding. Well, I think when a person has made $1 million, let's say, what do you think it would take to live the rest of your life having whatever you wanted in pure comfort, right? Say it takes $1 million, say it takes $1 billion. Who knows? I don't really know. I don't care about that shit. But, you know, okay, at any point above that mark, you're hoarding. You're taking flow out of the current sea. You understand that hoarding mentality is what's corrupting our currency, because that is how we are exchanging energy with each other. So that's why at the bottom rungs where people are working at McDonald's and they get $8 an hour, there's not enough for them because the executives sitting at the top of McDonald's are making $1 billion. You see what I'm saying? No, I'm just using that as an example, but it's not equitable. It's not equitable. I'm not a socialist by any means. I don't believe in communism. I don't believe in these isms. Okay. Right. I believe in equanimity. Not that we're equals, because we're all individuals and we all have our own special gifts and what we're sharing in the world, that we have equanimity. And when you have equanimity, the garbage man's just as important as the doctor.
That's huge.
Because who's going to take your garbage out if everybody's a doctor?
Well,
because
that's
they want to make money.
Lesson. It's kind of like how you treat the lower tier people is how you should be judged according to whatever the universe, or that's how I see character of people.
The universe never judges us ever. The universe doesn't really care what we do. There's this free will that we were given as sentient beings. Mm-hmm. We were given free will. That means you can do whatever you want. But see, if you're causing harm, guess what's going to happen to you? Remember when I said about cause is effect concealed and effect is cause revealed? If you're causing harm and you have the intention to cause harm, you're going to live in the effect of that at some point in your journey.
That's amazing.
I intend to cause joy and love and peace and abundance. That's what I intend for everyone I encounter. You know, that's my cause. That's my cause with everyone. I'm causing love, joy, peace, and abundance, because that is really that's really the truth of our being. There's no lack in the universe. There's absolutely no lack. We are equitable in godliness, in our divine nature. It's all equanimity. No one's higher or lower. No one's better. We all have different roles that we play here, and the way we've chosen to value, to ascribe value to certain roles is pretty lame.
Love it. Jeanine,
I love pizza. The guy who makes my pizza is awesome. I think he should make, enough money to live comfortably.
I've had empanadas and pizza last night with an
I don't make good pizza. I've tried it. I suck at it. I really need somebody to make pizza for me.
I'll rock it up. I'll flip it up and I'll make that organic sauce and everything set.
Right?
Jeanine, check this out. So I got this little exercise for everyone. So whenever you wake up in the morning and immediately go into 10 things you're grateful for, and then go through that, feel it, and then talk about 3 people that bother you, either that were in the past or the future or current, then send them love, and then go quiet for 5 minutes for your direction for the day. And then later on, when you get past that stage, go journal and think about 10 ideas. One of those ideas will grip, and then take 3 actions towards that idea. And in 21 days, your mission is to start something, either a GoFundMe, a YouTube channel, a Twitter account, a podcast, and a comedy show, an improv class, something that's going to help you break out of your comfort zone. Because comfort,
I love it.
We have a couch, but we don't live on a couch. We live on our feet.
Right.
We got to be on our feet. We got to walk towards this. Because I see this in spiritual communities. I see a lot of talk. I see a lot of this in political communities. But then when I really see people doing great things, I see them making movies. I see them going overseas and giving people pencils and building schools and taking vacations and taking 3-month holidays and resetting their life, replenishing their abundance, and living life, not through Netflix, but living like a charged life, being bold, and really go through an exercise every day to write down what's your next move. What is your current move? What are you doing with the 8 hours you're at work, the 8 hours you're sleeping, and the 8 hours you're playing? If you have 8 hours to play. So this is play. This is fluid. This is fun. This is great. This is serving. And what can you do to give? What can you do to be awesome? Can you laugh? What skills are you good at? Because everyone's, I don't have any skills. I'm just normal. I'm just this guy. I'm just go to work and I'm just a drone. But you do have a skill. You did have a skill. Go back to your childhood. Go back to a meditation of your innocence. Go back to that moment when you were playing with your friends. You were outside. You were feeling the sunshine. You were swimming in the pool. You were feeling the sand beneath your toes. Go back to those moments. Figure out what made you charged. What made you feel like you were.
What made you feel actual?
The living, yeah, actual. You were a bright spot. You were spinning around the globe. You were, traveling on a plane. You were going on vacation. So, these are the things that we're kind of restrained in the Western world right now. But
right.
How important is travel to getting us to that shift? What can we do to shift, to start to disconnect from the mainstream, not necessarily totally disconnect, but having like a selfish part of our gene that says, I need to take back a little bit of this life that I used to have?
Well, I'm a proponent of traveling. It's like my very favorite thing to do. Ooh. So, I mean, anything that gets us out of our comfort zones is going to create some kind of shift in us. That's just, people don't understand that work is actually a comfort. A lot of people, I notice, they go, oh, I hate my job. I hate my job. I'm like, stop it, quit. They're like, oh no, I can't. I'm like, well, you see, you don't understand. You hate your job, but really, it sounds to me like you're really comfortable there. That's what it sounds like when people say, well, I can't quit. Well, yeah, you can. And, you're just afraid to move into that next unknown. But that's probably the best thing you could possibly do for yourself. So I find that a lot of people get comfortable in complacency. You know what I mean? Where they hate where they're at, but they don't really want to move from it either, because it's known and it's sure and it's safe, and at least they know what they're doing every day. You know, so moving into places where I don't know what's going to happen, I don't know where my next move is. That's an impetus that moves us into more unknowns, and it actually feels so good. It feels so good because it's new and different, and that's what takes us out of that gap of the hamster on the treadmill. Running the same.
Well said. That hits home.
Every day. I couldn't do it, frankly. I knew from very early age that I could never wake up every morning and dread my life. I knew this from school. When I had to go to school, I hated school. Okay. I did very well. I was a straight A student, nice. But I hated it. I hated going there. I hated sitting. I hated listening to the teacher drone. It's like, I felt like Charlie Brown, So
how would you design a school to make it better?
First of all, there would be no curriculum at all. Each child would be in their own individual, and they would see. This is what's great about computers is it is opening that space up where each child can actually move into what they're interested in, because that is how we find. Okay, the Hawaiians have a word called kahuna. Oh gosh, Ryan, I have to go. I didn't even realize what time it is. I have to be somewhere. But the Hawaiians have a word called kahuna. And in Hawaiian, kahuna means master. But you're not the master of everything. You understand? You're the master of what you know.
Nice.
You understand? So each one of us as individuals have the absolute capacity to be the master of what most propels us, what we're most interested in. I think people would function so much more better if they were doing what they really wanted to do. So, a craftsman is being a craftsman, and that's just as admired and revered and valued as the guy who wants to be a garbage man. You know what I mean? But so I would never. The problem with schools is they make everybody fit into the box and behave. If you're not, I had a hard time in school because I wasn't like everyone, and I refused to be like everyone. I didn't dress like anyone. I am a nonconformist down into my core being.
Rebel.
If everybody's doing something, I'm not doing that because I'm not doing it. So, the conformity, the regimented learning, the sitting in a box all day, that's not learning, and it's not living. It's actually, they're teaching people how to die to an 8-hour work week, a 40-hour work week, and that's lame.
Totally. I know you got to run, and I appreciate your time. I don't want to make you late for anything, but can you leave us with 3 secrets from the tantric world that someone could just get, like the mentorship from someone who's mastered the beginning and end stages, so they can sort of implement that in their life now, and they can rewatch this episode, they can download it and stream it, whatever they want to do, so they can harness that, shift their life today, make that change, rev up their life, kick ass at life, hit that big wave, just like you're doing in Aloha land and enjoying yourself. But damn.
Let's see. Well, I'll give you 3 methods from the Bhairava Vijnana Tantra, which is the tantra that I practice. And they, one of them is like when you're kissing or hugging someone, become that. One of the meditations is to become the caress. So you're not caressing, you're becoming it. So there goes one. Another technique is holding space between the breath. So pause. So finding that pause in between each breath and trying to hold that pause as long, you don't hold it, but just see how long you can go in that pause, because that's the meditation. The meditation is in between the in and out, the ups and downs, the this and that, the right and wrong, the good and bad. It's all this place in between that. So there goes one. Here's the only Tantra Sutra that's actually has anything to do with sex. None of them have anything to do with sex. This one, it says at the I'm gonna make sure I get it right. Oh, stay with the fire in the beginning to avoid the embers in the end. So in that beginningness, where we have desire, where we have movement, where we are excited, where we're, oh, it's new. It's like, oh, stay there. Don't try to get past that. Don't look for the outcome. Don't try to come. That's the point, right? Stay there, because that's what turns us on. That's what keeps us alive. Is that constantly moving into, yes.
I want to add to that, because that is beautiful. So guys, it's not about the finish, girls. It's not about the end result. It's about the process. And when you feel yourself about to explode, per se, in a lot of ways, calm down, simmer down, put some ice, take some breathing, pinching, doing the Kegels, having the physicality to withstand pleasure, and to
desire is really the beautiful thing about it all.
Totally. Okay. Well, you crushed it. Namaste. I'm sending a lot of love
you.
There. Love it. Love it.
I'll see you soon.
See you soon. Talk soon.
Aloha.
Aloha. Peace. Peace and love, guys. That was an amazing broadcast. I am tremendously grateful for all you guys that tuned in. Please check out Gnarly from Namaste online, Amazon. There's 4 books, The Mind, Body, and Spirit. Then there's the whole book. It's also in print. Just got it logged in. Just got it knocked out. It's got colorful pages. It's got beautiful rhythms to it. It's got action steps on each topic. We got exercise. We got diets. We got all sorts of give-me's, tantra. We go through the whole thing. We go through meditation. And I handpick these amazing techniques so that you, as the reader, can easily get there. So you're not just picking up on education that's not helping you, education that's not serving you. So it's going to be action steps. It's a choose your own adventure book, and it's $6. $6. It's on sale now. And there's also $4.99 for each individual section. So you take about a month for each exercise. You can even triple them and stack upon different levels, so that you can go through the breathing, you can go through the weight loss, you can go through the strengthening, you can go through the NLP, the neuro-linguistic psychology. You can learn about quantum physics. You will feel it. You will start to unopen. You will start to pop the can of fun. You will be there. We'll learn about spiritual activities like laughter, music, all sorts of areas where we can courageously step to that next level and get our higher selves just pronunciating to the world and start living again, start thriving again, start rolling, just start rolling with life and start projecting us better to the world. It's all about creating a morning routine. It's all about creating habits, but great habits, livable habits, easily identifiable, smooth sailing, sailboat habits. Okay, they're not going to be hard. And then we can rotate them so we don't get bored. We can live on the edge. We can live on life. We can live on expansion. Okay, so this is an example. So one of my nutritious detoxes in the toxicity chapter, lemon, lime, ginger, water. How easy is that? You're just sipping on it. It's cleansing you. It's helping your stomach. It's activating your second brain in your stomach. It's helping us be clean, essence, and another one. And we making special coffees with cocoa and bulletproof coffee with coconut oil and butter, just so we get neurocognitive benefits from that. Because there's a lot of expanding things. We learn a lot of naturopathic areas of life so that we can live and breathe the temple of the body, mind, spirit. And it really connects us. We really start to tap into what we really are, knowing thyself, knowing what charges us, what gives us passion, and we can begin to have the strength to take on businesses, to take on goals, to take on life, to take on relationships, to take on travel, so we can have the strength. So we're not just sitting there being slaves. We want to rule. We want to live. We want to roll. So with that being said, check it out on Amazon.com. And you guys, have a great day. Have a loving day. Have a experience today. Do 3 things today that are going to be moving you towards your life purpose. Just write it down. Write down 3 sentences of what brings you closer to your purpose. Don't just follow what you've been told. Follow your purpose. Follow your path. That's so good. Sending all the love, all the connection. Thank you for extending your time, watching the workshop online or downloading the podcast. This will be up tomorrow on Life Spirit Tech through iTunes and Stitcher. And peace out. Check you later.